Greetings there, Benevolent History here, and I'm gonna show you a tactics video, so hopefully you'll get better at this game. In this tactics video, I probably will discuss about what is a battle and the stages of a battle. Well, there are different variations of battles. There are 1v1s, 2v2s, and 3v3s. Team battles such as this, you could see Dacia, Numidia, and Thrace playing together on the same team. With team battles, you have to cooperate with your teammates and use every faction's advantage. And for here, Numidia has the camels who could deal with enemy cavalry, because camels are very effective against enemy cavalry. And Thrace here, you can see, has the phalanx pikemen, the pike units, to protect our archers against any cav strikes. A team that could effectively cooperate with these assets can turn the tide of any battle. However, for the purposes of this tactics video, it is essential to know the basics of 1v1 fighting. Basically, for 1v1s, you have to rely on yourself rather than on other people. That's probably because, well, you're going to be the only one fighting against your opponent, and you're not going to have an ally to bail you out. So my suggestion is, if you're new to online Rome Total War, play 1v1s instead of team battles, because 1v1s force you to rely on yourself, so it'll get you to improve actually. So what are the tactics for 1v1? Basically, 1v1s are characterized by three main phases. There's a skirmish phase, there's the melee engagement, and there's the late game phase. I'll go through each of the three phases individually so that you'll understand what to do within those three phases. However, keep in mind that some experienced players will try and surprise other players by skipping one of the three main phases. Now, the first stage, the skirmish phase, involves the archers and involves missile units dueling at each other and trying to shoot each other down and eliminate the enemy's missile component. In this phase, you want to avoid melee combat with your infantry and try and win an archer war with your slingers or archers or horse archers, so that you give the enemy opponent a disadvantage later on. However, the goals for the missile battle are different depending on the faction you use. A faction you can see here, Carthage and Pontus for example. Carthage has the infantry superiority, so essentially Carthage merely has to just destroy or nullify the enemy's missile component. Carthage doesn't have to win the missile component. Carthage just has to give basically the Pontic archers something to shoot at, essentially. So slingers, for example, are very good at soaking up missiles, and they will easily and gleefully die for the cause of Carthage. So essentially, the sacrifice gives the Carthaginian infantry the chance to be safe from the enemy missiles in the late game. Now, Pontus, on the other hand, must be able to actually kill the enemy's missile component very, very quickly and not use up so much ammo. So basically, yes, you should shoot the slingers down, but you should not waste all your ammunition on the slingers, or your missile units won't have any missiles left at the end game against the enemy infantry. The tactic with Carthage can apply to any faction with strong infantry, while the tactic with Pontus that I described can be applied to any faction with weak infantry. Normally, when you begin the skirmish phase, you begin with a horse archer war involving horse archers or chariot archers, or you send out your long range archers. This is to get the enemy's archers to either come to you or to waste their ammunition. You can see here that these chariot archers are moving around in Cantabrian circle. Now horse archers have the same ability, and in Cantabrian circle, horse archers or chariot archers are both basically immune to archer fire. You can see here these horse archers are being attacked by a lot of Egyptian bowmen at once, in addition to the Egyptian chariot archers. You can see here they're not suffering a lot of casualties. Now, in contrast, the Egyptian bowmen, you can see here, are using up a lot of ammunition and wasting it on the horse archer in the background. Now, in order to deal with chariot or horse archers, the best possible way is to send light cavalry, a peasant unit, or any fodder unit basically out, so that you'll block the chariot archers from attacking your slingers or archers. You can see here the Carthaginian player is sending out his light cav and peasant unit to absorb the chariot archers' fire so that the slingers don't get damaged. Now, that is a very costly sacrifice, though. You should know that you're sacrificing the unit that you're going to send out. There's also another way you could deal with chariot archers or horse archers, is to send best way is to send one of those Balearic or Rhodian slingers out, because Balearic and Rhodian slingers fire in a way that allows you to hit the chariot archers more often. You can see here the devastating effects of Rhodian and Balearic slingers on this chariot archer unit. Basically, this whole chariot archer unit, even though it was in Cantabrian Circle, got decimated, wiped out. However, you should be careful to protect the slingers that are coming out, or else if the enemy has light cav, they could do this and basically decimate your unprotected slingers. So it's best to have additional light cav, heavy cav, or infantry out to protect the slingers from being struck by your opponent's light cav. Now, with the other missile initiator, the long-range archer, for example, Macedon's Cretan archer, they have longer range than regular archers, so that you basically can shoot the enemy's archers before they can actually shoot you. So basically, you could send your Cretan archer or other long-range archer right out in front by itself and just strike down the enemy's archers. Thus, the enemy will be forced to will have to come to you, or else they'll constantly get missile damage. Missiles rain down on their own archers, which will cause a lot of casualties if they just sit there and do nothing. So essentially, having long-range archers forces your opponent to come into range of your own regular archers, and thus you would get the first shot, which will basically win you the missile fight. Now, if the enemy chooses to move his archers close to your long-range archers, you could just simply retreat your own long-range archers, so that the enemy will have to be in range of your regular archers to actually be able to shoot your long-range archers. So essentially, you can see here I'm just retreating my Cretans while his regular archers just moves forward a little. You can see I was careless a little and some of my Cretan archers got shot, but otherwise they remain intact. But if your opponent is reluctant to engage your regular archers, just send your Cretans out again. Essentially, just keep on harassing him with long-range fire until he has to come into range of your regular archers, or he will lose the missile component without doing any damage at all to your regular archers. And when your opponent does close with this regular archers, it's best to send your Cretans at the way back, behind your regular archers, so that the enemy will have to move closer in order to hit your Cretans. Since Cretans have longer range, they can afford to move backwards. However, it should be mentioned that if your opponent also brought long-range archers, you're going to have a long-range archer duel. And basically the person with the most long-range archers wins, so if you're up against a faction with long-range archers, be sure to bring more long-range archers. What I consider a lot is, I guess 4 long-range archers are probably the maximum you should use, because long-range archers fire and waste ammo more quickly than regular archers. Anyway, ignoring my poorly drawn cat, basically when you lose a horse archer or long-range archer duel, or you accidentally make a mistake and they're gone and you lose them, you're gonna have to push up your regular archers or slingers you're gonna have to push them up to reconcile, basically. You don't want to just stand there and just look and be in awe. You want to be able to take the initiative even though something is wrong, that something happened to you that's wrong. Even though you lose the unit, you could still be very offensive. I mean, the unit can come back from routing. You could rush in your regular archers or slingers. Very soon afterwards you lose it. I mean, there are lots of variables to go around. You don't have to just sit there and whine about losing it. Just move on, basically. And I think this concludes my skirmishing bit. I think I'll talk about the melee combat and late game stages later on in my so-called tactics series.